Hey guys, welcome into the studio again. We got my boy Drew over here.
Joe Decrian right here in the middle.
Yeah, you guys know me. I'm Connor. You guys go on your runs today? You on your run?
No, that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I asked Drew. There is other people.
He's talking to me. Thank you very much.
Forgot he's still
and
out
actually,
here.
you got me today. I didn't run today. I did work
Not
out,
a
but I didn't
spirit of
run.
excellence.
Yeah, I did
Not a
not
spirit
run.
of excellence.
It's just a spiritual day then. It's not a fit day.
It's just a spiritual day. Hopefully spiritual.
Well, maybe you can go
I
like
had
on
a
a walk.
44-minute band workout today.
Him and his bands. Yeah, dude, Joe here plays with rubber bands for his workout.
Like,
Yeah, pretty much like that.
Finger strength?
I think that's the literal thing that he does. Yeah,
You know what's interesting to me? This is the first time we've ever had a live studio audience.
a live studio. My wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife lives in my home where we're shooting this. Believe it or not.
Oh, wow, what a
Anyone
novel
that's
idea.
shocked by that, let's go ahead and snuff out any of the maybe the rumors going around. She lives here, but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and jump to the reel. This reel is semi-related to the topic we're going to talk about today, but I think it's still applicable.
Okay. Are you going
right.
to tell us what the topic is now or after we watch the reel?
After you watch the reel.
All right, let's do it.
all right, guys, feast your eyes on this.
I am a gay Christian and I have the Spirit of God inside of me. The time that I felt most filled with the Holy Spirit was when I kissed a woman. That is when I was filled with peace and joy. That is a personal experience to the beautiful fruit of the Spirit of God being in my relationship with my wife and in our children.
Can you link that fruit back to the Bible?
I think that's where... Oh, wow.
Okay, so you know, we'll start with your reaction,
Wait,
Drew.
what is the topic?
Yeah,
The topic is going to be on relationships, guys.
Okay.
The reason that I use that video right there is because she's talking about her relationship with her wife, right? So,
So we're going to like contrast, like, what are good relationships, what are bad relationships?
yeah.
Okay.
And I think I think that anyone that's watching this podcast would probably agree that's probably not the most healthy. But Drew, what is your reaction first? Start with you. We'll go you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like, it's cringy for me, like as a believer, because I don't understand that, like this idea that the Spirit of God can be in someone, and then yet you are just blatantly going the wrong direction here.
Yeah,
with this.
Like in
So-
the words of the great philosopher Katy Perry, I kissed a girl and liked it.
That's pretty much what she said. And that's
Yep.
I mean, honestly, like as much as you're joking, that is effectively what she said.
Yep.
Joe, what was your reaction?
I did not like it.
Yeah. I mean, I figured you guys wouldn't like this video. I think it was just to show a stark contrast of like a good relationship from a bad relationship. And I mean, to start this off, you know, in today's modern culture, we always start off with, you know, I mean, I feel like they always add steps, right? It used to just be dating, engaged, and then married. Now it's like, hey, like they DM'd me. Oh, we're talking. We went on
talking,
like
yeah.
a date, and now it's like engagement, then it's like marriage. Like, what would you say, like dating, even though it's not in the Bible, like from a biblical perspective, what would that look like?
I think it's a great question. Drew, you want to pick it up?
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I'm married. Joe's married. Connor's married.
Yeah.
And we have a wealth of wisdom to pull from here. Now, I only ever dated my wife. I didn't date before that. And so my perspective may be a little different because I didn't DM a bunch of people. I didn't go on dates. I just decided to
You're
start.
not attacking me and Joe. We didn't DM a bunch of people just so we're
Someone
really
thinks
record.
he's the Christian of the year.
No.
Yeah. We shouldn't have started with Drew.
By God's grace, we can roll it back. By God's grace, I met a woman that I ended up dating and then marrying.
What's her name?
Her name's Ellie.
Do you think she's watching right now?
Oh, she watches.
Yeah, my wife watches. She's currently watching from the room, so I have to be really careful with what I say. That's
Yeah, we
why
should have made him go first. For
No,
this
I'm
one.
good. We'll plead the fifth. I'm the host. Anyway,
Where my mind goes with this whole topic is when we talk about, well, how do we do dating? How do we do this? How do we do that? We really have to look at the point of relationships, right? And like what Scripture does say is that like a man and a wife should leave their father and mother, become one flesh, and we like to like romanticize that, right? Which I'm not saying we shouldn't be romantic in our relationships, but like this whole thing is about God. It's not just about us. And I think we forget to look at it with that perspective. And so with that in mind, when we're dating, when we're, whatever the words are, if we don't have that end goal in mind of, well, if marriage is to make much of Jesus, much of God, and point back to him to give him glory, then everything else that we're doing, we're going to get wrong. Like we have to have that in mind.
Joe, I know that you and I both have dated other people, so Drew's going to make us look bad. So I'll have you go first. What's your take on the question? Dating from a biblical perspective, you can use your own anecdotal evidence as well.
1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. Whether I eat, whether I drink, do everything to the glory of God. So whether I eat, whether I drink, whether I go on a date with a girl to play tennis, or what's the other tennis game?
Pickleball.
Pickleball, yeah.
I've never played that, but I know a lot of people play that.
really fun.
There's probably people watching right now, and they're thinking about, am I going to ask this girl out and take her to go play pickleball?
You should.
Just
Yeah,
make
it's
sure
a
you pay
great
for
date
her.
idea.
Make sure you pay for her.
Anyone that's out there, that's a good date idea.
Yeah. But you need to pay for her.
Okay, that's a good point. I had a friend that would.
If you
always get out
don't
of doing
pay
that.
for her, I'm just thinking of my one friend.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. Are we thinking the same person?
Yeah, the same person. Yeah.
If you're watching, if who's like, I can't afford it, I'm like, well, then you shouldn't be going on a date right now.
Yeah, dude. I know exactly.
You know who I'm talking about.
Well, we're in a college town, right? We're in a college town
Below the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, we are below the Mason-Dixon line.
From Radio Free Lynchburg.
Oh man, we do everything to get that out of the shots, so everyone knows we try our best. But we're in a college town, and primarily a Christian college town. We're in Lynchburg, Virginia, where Liberty University is. So you see like a lot of these young people come to you, and they're like, well, like I feel like I'm ready to date. Or I feel like this girl, I'm called to date her.
Okay.
I've even seen someone at like the Rot the one semester I was on.
What's the
campus.
Rot?
Oh, the Rot for everyone that's out there. That's our dining hall. It's not the most appealing name. The food's actually not bad, but Rot is not the most
I just
appealing
built a
name.
brand new, beautiful building.
I know it's
They're
great.
probably never going to sponsor the podcast.
Yeah,
now, so
yeah,
that-
Joe. We can't even try. Anyway, like, what would you tell those people that are like, Joe? I know that I'm only 19, but I feel like I love this girl.
I love her.
I feel like you've had that a lot.
I'm ready.
Have you had that a lot?
As a pastor of a church in Lynchburg, many times. So I'm like, all right, you're ready. He's like, I really think I'm ready. Okay. Let me ask you just a couple series of questions to flesh that out, Jimmy. Jimmy, who pays for your cell phone? Mom and Dad. Got it. Who pays for your insurance? Mom and Dad. Your gas? Your groceries? Mom and Dad, Mom and Dad. Your tuition, your room and board. You see where I'm going. There's a pattern
right.
here, right?
Yeah.
So like if, and not to mention on top of that, like oftentimes like Jimmy, and if your name is Jimmy, we could use a different name, but you see where I'm going with this. If that Jimmy kid also struggles to even pass his classes or wake up for his classes and they're in the afternoon, usually my response is, Jimmy, let's just be real, man. Like, you shouldn't be probably like taking care of a pet goldfish, like let alone a girlfriend. Like you're just not showing responsibility. You're not showing initiative. You're not waking up for your classes and they're in the afternoon. Okay, I don't think you're ready. I think maybe you're bored and you want a hobby and you need to like go find a show on Netflix or go pick up a new hobby or go to the gym or go work out. But yeah, you probably don't need a girlfriend right now.
Yeah, but Joe, dating's fun.
That's usually
Dating
Yeah,
is- I think
dating's so much fun. It's
It's
going to be
so
so
much
much
fun.
fun. We can go to the movies. We can hang out. Joe, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. What do you say to that, Joe?
I mean, there's a lot of things that are fun. All things are lawful. Not all things are beneficial, as the Apostle Paul would say.
Yeah, as I play devil's advocate for that question, my mind's going to Ephesians 5, right? When we think about, as men, asking a young lady out, or I mean, I guess in some cases, maybe older ladies, I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe we're talking to, I don't
Man, Drew.
Ephesians 5, like taking a, we'll cut that out.
Yeah, no, we won't. We'll keep that in.
What was I saying? Ephesians 5. We should, in marriage, we are called to love our wives as Christ loved the church. And you know what Christ did? He gave himself up for the church. And so if you're not ready to make that level of a commitment, what is your business doing, like having fun, dating? If you're not ready for that, what are you ready for?
Yeah.
Practically, people say, let's assume that I am. Let's assume I check all the boxes off. Can I move forward? Can I progress? Can I pull the trigger? Can I, as the kids would say, can I shoot my shot? I think that's what they say these days. And usually my response is this. All right, are you ready to get married in the next 18 months? I realize it's a very arbitrary number. Jason Segel from Desiring God, if you're watching this, Mr. Siegel, we've met before, but you had a great article one time, and you talked about this 18-month arbitrary number. But the truth is like, if you're not ready to get married in the next 18 months, why are you going to start dating a girl? Because we know that most people start crossing emotional and physical boundaries way before that 18 months happens. And so if you're like, yeah, I'm going to date a girl for the next 4 years until I graduate, which, oh, by the way, parents put so much pressure, and they're like, you're not getting married until you're done with school, so I'm going to date this person for the next 36 to 48 months and just hope that I don't cross emotional boundaries or physical boundaries. I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure. That's why I'm like, if you realistically can honestly say like, no, like I don't think I'm ready to get married in the next 18 months, then maybe you should like slow your roll.
Yeah. I mean, my next question was going to be like, how do you know you're ready to date? Is your only like question then, are you ready to get married in the next 18 months? Because there's probably going to be people that say yes.
Yeah. And I would say get a second opinion. And where do you find a second opinion? It's not from your like 21-year-old RA on your dorms. Okay. I had some good 21-year-old RAs, but there's something even better, right? I mean, would you want to talk to the person in med school or the person who's been a doctor for 10 years? The guy that actually has been married, that has a family, that has kids, right? That's the person. You want to talk to the subject matter expert. So this is why the local church is so important, to be able to go to an older brother and ask his advice, or an older sister and ask her advice and be like, shoot me straight. Is this a bad idea? And they can say, yes, it is, Jimmy. Like, this is the dumbest thing ever. I don't know why you
Poor Jimmy.
Like, Jimmy, you can't take care of your goldfish.
Yeah.
You really think that you're in a place that you can be responsible enough to take care of another human being.
Yeah.
Local church.
Joe, what would you say to someone who's like, but I want to get experience so that one day I'm ready?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Because I hear that all the time. Well, I need some dating experience. I need to get experience, Joe.
Why don't you listen to a podcast
Oh, okay, all right.
or read a book or watch a sermon?
Or like you said, like go into a local church, like talk to some of these people that are married. You know, like you always say like the younger guys should seek out help from wisdom from the older guys, and younger women to the older women.
100%. This is the same argument where like, I need to test drive the car first. Like, I need to like hook up. We need to like have sex. Can I use the word sex on the podcast?
I mean, it's not a curse word.
Out?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't bring it up in the legalism one.
I don't know if we can. I'm not sure what the podcast.
I think sex
rules.
you can say.
We'll find out.
FTC rules
We'll find
Yeah,
out.
FCC will let us know really quick.
Yeah.
But
FCC.
that's the thing. Like that comes from that same kind of thinking. I've got to test drive it first, right?
Yeah.
I need to get experience first. Case in point, I'm going to go on a limb and say that because you married the only girl that you dated versus me and Connor, I'm going to go on a limb and say you probably experienced less hurt, less pain emotionally, less financial hardship, just less anxiety, less stress, less all these, any terrible like adjective you could think of because you did that. And I don't think like anybody, like for example, no one gets married and says, man, I wish I would have had sex with a whole bunch more people. No one gets married and says, man, I wish I would have made out with a whole bunch more people.
Yeah.
Like that would have been awesome, man. So that like nobody says that.
that truly loves their spouse.
That actually is in love.
Because I have met people that would call themselves Christians. I remember you told me about that one guy that you said like was a Christian that you met. You had an evangelism story. You actually told at church this last time.
Oh, the guy Josh from Daytona Beach.
Yeah, dude, the guy Josh
Yeah.
from Daytona Beach who said he was a Christian, and you were like,
Oh yeah, he met the girl in the club, and I was like, dude, what are you doing here? It's like because this is like he was getting on.
you can tell the story if you want, real quick.
I mean, it was a good story.
yeah, tell it.
Okay,
It's
so-
a great story.
Yeah, I mentioned that in the Ruth sermon. It was like part 3 of my Ruth series, but
Shout out Ruth.
shout out to Ruth and
We have a Ruth at Lynchburg State Church, so we can
do.
shout her out as well.
We'll shout Ruth. Shout
I
out
was
to
thinking we should shout out the Ruth podcast. So I mean,
the Ruth podcast as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
You wanna
Both
hear-
of you get shout outs.
everyone
You have a
gets a
biblical
shout
name,
out.
you're gonna get a shout out.
You get a shout out. You get a shout out. Please continue.
Daytona Beach, 2010. In seminary, I'm there with my buddies, like on the main strip. Go down to the hotel lobby. It's the only place that has Wi-Fi. This is before like hotspots and stuff. I'm uploading the seminary assignment, and there's a guy named Josh, and I've been praying, like, Lord, like, please like bring us somebody like, so we were there for fun, me and my buddies, but we're like hoping to have gospel intentional conversations. The guy sits down to me, we start talking, he opens his laptop. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I met a girl at a club and I'm hoping to see if she accepted my friend request on Facebook because I really want to have sex and sleep with her. And I'm thinking like, praise God, you answered my prayer. You brought me this pagan, unregenerate guy. Clearly he needs to hear the gospel. We start talking. He's like, oh, you're in seminary? You're a Christian? No way, like me too. He like got all excited. And the conversation progresses and it gets to a point after 5 or 10 minutes of dialogue back and forth where I'm like, Josh, can I be honest with you? If I wasn't a Christian, I would have thought you were a joke. I would have thought you were the biggest hypocrite in the world. I would have thought you were just like anyone else. And I said, truthfully, how do you think Jesus feels about like the conversation that you've been sharing with me? And he had this like mile-long stare just at the floor and he was like, I don't think you'd be really happy with how I'm living my life right now.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, that's really touching. And honestly, like, not to give another shout, but my friend Justin, I would have been Josh in this situation. I remember like my friend Justin like did that to me. He called me out about something when I was in the military with him. He was a medic in the military with me. And dude, like as soon as he said it, like I was upset at first, but like usually if you're upset by something that someone says, there's some truth behind it, right? But very thankful for those conversations, man. I mean, looking back, I'm sure Josh, if he's listening to this, is probably very thankful for that conversation you had with him. Another question I want to bring up, because both of you guys, unlike me, have kids, right? You both have daughters. So I guess like the question for you, now that you guys both have daughters, what would be some of the list items for if you were going to allow a guy to date your daughter? Now I know that Drew's going to say like never. He told me that on the phone once. But like, what are some like you guys can like switch on and off? Like, what are some things like this has to be included?
Do you want to go or you want me to go?
You can go.
Drew's like never.
Drew's gonna like have to like verbally process this off in
Yeah,
the corner.
yeah.
How old is my daughter right now?
Your daughter is almost 2.
No, I know how old she is
Oh.
in this hypothetical.
Oh, in this
scenario.
hypothetical. Okay.
Like, why are you asking?
I was like, hopefully Diana doesn't see this. No. So let's say your daughter's, let's say that she's 18. Let's say that she's 18 or 17, like
She's
that
like-
range.
she's
She's about
like
to be in
college
college.
age?
She's about to
Okay,
be in
okay.
college. Yeah.
So I guess I would want to know.
I'll be your daughter in this situation.
That's
you know?
awkward.
No, maybe not. Okay.
Let's not do that.
Continue.
Do you? I would want to know from the guy. Do you have a plan? Because I get like number one, like your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until you're 25. Like you don't have to have it all figured out, but are you at least like trying to like figure it out? Are you trying to make something of your life and become like a legit like member of society that wants to contribute to society? Is the person a part of a local church? Do they see the need for
That
a
was
local
going to be
church?
yours, wasn't it? Yeah.
Do they see the need for a local church? I want to know, do they have a plan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like-
you're like plan as far as like
And maybe,
finances.
and maybe the plan is like, I'm studying this major because I want to do X, Y, and Z.
Well, let me ask you, what if he is like, you know, a part of a local church? It sounds like yours was about to be the local church one. Yeah, you're big on that one. But let's say that he is a part of a local church. He loves the Lord. You can tell he's a pretty serious guy. There's a bunch of guys at our church that, you know, you and I have talked about. Like, man, if I have a daughter, I would love for this
Oh,
guy.
for sure. Can we shout those guys out?
You can shout them.
I'm just saying, like, I think it's really cool because most churches are like overwhelmingly female to guy.
There's a lot of guys that I would.
There's more guys than girls at Lynchburg City Church.
Yeah, and I would
that is a
love that.
statistical anomaly. So
Yeah.
if you're a single girl in the Lynchburg, Virginia area, you should come to Lynchburg City Church because we have good theology and good community, and hopefully, like, you'll meet a legit guy. You got to meet him somewhere. It might be a little awkward saying that. You're gonna meet a guy somewhere. Might as well meet him in a local church. Shout out to you guys.
Yeah. But like there are a few people, like a couple guys that like just come to mind where I'm like, yeah, I would totally let my daughter marry them. But let's say that same guy, the same guy probably that's coming up in both of our minds. What if he's like, well, you know, Joe, I just want to do like lance photography, right? Like I don't care about like making a bunch of money.
How are you gonna feed your future children?
Well, what if he says, you know, like we'll probably get by. Like what if we're just gonna have to like maybe not make a lot of money.
That makes me nervous.
Really?
Like he doesn't have to be a gazillionaire, but I don't know. Like in that type of conversation we're having, he almost has this laissez-faire type spirit. This kind of too, like you can become too carefree. And
Yeah.
the statistics will say like once you actually have a son or daughter, your motivation goes like through the ceiling.
Do you guys feel like that's true?
I'm a self-starter, so
Yes.
like, but I think Moeller talks about that.
Right. I'm also a self-starter. Carter, when you asked this question, yes, my mind went to the local church. I'd want to see a guy who's being discipled, someone who's eager and hungry for the word of God.
Yeah.
Someone that has a plan. I didn't quite have my plan together, but I had the eagerness of like, hey, I'm going to figure this out. Like I'm trying to figure this out. I'm applying for jobs, doing these things.
Sense of
I didn't have
urgency.
life figured out, and I'm not a gazillionaire either. But like when I was having conversations with Ellie's dad, we laid out a plan. He gave me wisdom. There was a discipleship moment there where it was like, hey, this questions that he would ask me, like, how do you feel about divorce? How are you gonna, get your family to church? Like these practical
that's
things.
a great
right?
question.
And so for me, as much as we talk about what guy I want for my daughter, I think the reality is it starts right now for Joe and I specifically with children to train my daughter to want a guy like that.
Yeah.
But to model that for her too.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not something that I can force on her. It's something that I have to daily wake up and model for her.
Yeah.
You want to disciple your children in an Ephesians 6 way. I want to raise them in the discipline and instruction of the
Yeah.
Lord, because once she gets to a certain age, once your little boy gets to a certain age, like you're gonna lose probably a lot of influence. And so the goal is to spend that time, invest that time now, so that they're going to be making these wise decisions when the time comes and they're looking for potential suitors. Local church is great because as a young dude, there's so much that you don't know, and there's so many questions you don't even know that you should be asking.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, if you're like, hey, I'm a young dude. I'm 18 to 22. My prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed. There's lots of questions I probably should be asking, but I don't even know what those are. Older guys, what questions should I be asking? Do you have like X, Y, and Z? I didn't even know I needed X, Y, and Z.
Correct.
Well, that's why we're asking, right? And that's the thing. Like, if you desire to just better yourself, putting yourself like in a situation where you're going to be able to have those type of mentors and be discipled is actually really beneficial.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. I mean, for reference, anyone out there listening, like I was engaged before my current wife, and like I was not in a great position. I was not in a stable position to date even. And then I started going to Lynchburg City Church, and then got involved, had people disciple me. And then after a year, I met my wife, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah,
because
praise God.
because I wouldn't have been worth my salt, one, and then two, bring up the questions that you guys said, like you would ask, like your future possible son-in-law, my father-in-law. Shout out to Adib. He's always been really nice to me, by the way, but he was very serious when I asked him if I could marry Rebecca. He was like, "How are you going to be able to pay for my daughter?" It was very straight faced. Like, do you have a plan? Like, do you think you make enough? Do you think
Right.
like you maybe have to do more? Like, what does your theology look like? He was very, very intentional, like knowing what my intentions were, what my theology was. And I would bring that to my next question, right? What are some good boundaries? Let's say that you are good to date. What are some good boundaries that you think are just like necessary? And do you think those are the same for everyone?
Having boundaries is important, but having someone to hold you accountable to those boundaries is even more important.
Okay.
There was a great Babylon Bee article many years ago. Shout out to the Babylon Bee, huge fan.
We have so many shout outs this episode.
They're probably watching.
Yeah,
this.
they're
And the title was, after long search, man finally chooses himself to be his own accountability partner. So having boundaries is good. Making sure like having someone
good.
to hold you accountable is even better. Otherwise, like, what's the point? So on that notion, people oftentimes focus on physical boundaries because, like, well, we shouldn't have sex because we're not married.
That's a good start, guys.
Boom.
Good start.
And what I tell people is usually long before the physical boundaries are crossed, the emotional boundaries are crossed.
Yeah.
So the first 30 days you know a girl, don't have super deep, heavy, vulnerable conversations in which you're self-disclosing personal information about yourself. Because number one, if after 30 days she's like, yeah, I just want to be friends, well, now she has all your secrets, or
man.
vice versa. And number two, it creates like this false, like,
Trauma bond.
It creates this false closeness that isn't actually real. So when you watch a reality TV show, you see this happens, and they're like, well, I feel like we've known each other for so long. Like, you've been on 6 dates with him. That's all. But like, the producers are encouraging you to, share that deep personal story. Because when you share that deep personal story, now I feel obligated to share a deep personal story. And now we feel closer than what we really are. Even though we're not actually that close, we've still only known each other for 4 days, but we've divulged this information to create this like false sense of intimacy. And the reason that's significant is because oftentimes before the physical boundaries fall, the emotional boundaries fall. Most people, by and large, especially girls, don't like hooking up and having sex with random strangers, right? But if they feel that you're much closer than you actually are,
They feel like they have to, yeah.
boom,
The
there
door's
it is.
open. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are some boundaries that, like, Drew, I'll ask this one to start with you. What were some like boundaries like you and Ellie had?
It's actually a great question. You know, you were talking earlier about having to date for long periods of time. Ellie and I dated for 4 years.
Wow.
Mostly because I couldn't afford to pay for her
When did you guys
college
start
degree.
dating?
Senior year of high school, and we graduated.
Okay, that's a pretty wise decision.
Yeah, but it was a really long time to date someone who I was actually already friends with, right? Like, so Ellie and I were already friends before we started dating. Then we started dating, and then we're 4 years in, right? That was tough. One of the boundaries, and this is something that Ellie set from the beginning, was like we did not kiss until we were engaged. Now there isn't anything magical that happened when we got engaged, other than that we promised.
Dang, dude, that's awesome.
Did you kiss when you got engaged?
We did.
Did things get
And
considerably more difficult after that?
We kissed a lot after we got married.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, me too.
To the glory of God and the joy of
To
all
answer the
men.
question,
He has 3 kids. That's why.
to answer your question, yes, things did get more difficult because we reached a new level of connection, right? Here's what I think about with boundaries, and I'm not even really answering your question yet, but
It's okay.
We can put ourselves in boxes, right? Like, don't do this, okay? But in our sinful state, we're always going to try to find the escape hatch. Well, we can do this. When in reality, if we set our eyes on the prize, right? Like, we set our eyes on what we're actually going after, those boundaries help keep us going in that direction. So I think a lot of guys look to like, okay, well, just tell me all the things, give me the checklist, things we can't do, and now we're going to be successful. No, you need a plan. You need a goal.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is, I mean, I said at the start of the podcast, if your goal isn't making much of Jesus, you're going to have a really hard time as a believer in marriage. And so, yeah, I think that's what I don't know. Does that answer your question? What was the question?
No, it was boundaries, and
Yeah.
you talked about like not kissing, and you guys, and I think Joe brought up some like emotional boundaries questions, which I think was good. You know, when I was getting ready to date Rebecca, like there was a couple times where like we both were like, no, I don't think we should talk about that yet. You know, like it was like
Yeah.
the topic would start to come up.
Yeah.
and
That's
like,
really good.
Yeah, man, and it was only because of like counseling and like lots of like mentorship that
I call it the Dave McKinney rule. Dave McKinney, if you're listening, shout out to you. But Dave
and
was
another
the-
one.
What a guy.
He used to
Another
be on
one.
when I was a student at Liberty from like 05 to 9, he came and he shared like a really good story where one time he was on a date with a girl and she started sharing these really heavy things and he was like, "Listen, hey, can I cut you off real quick? I really want to hear that story that you're sharing right now. Like that sounds like something really important. I just want to make sure like I guard your heart and that I hear it like at the right time. And I'm not sure
Yeah.
like, right now is the right time. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Which of course, like, I mean, oftentimes when that happens to a girl, she's like, I just like you all the more.
Right. Oh, so manly.
I love him.
Joe, I that makes me think of I think some mistakes. I think I made mistakes, right? Like all of us.
You did. Get off
Believe
this
it or not.
podcast,
Yeah,
dude.
my wife's probably, oh no.
Perfect people out here.
Yeah, dude.
Oh no, what happened? No, I think a mistake I made was I allowed myself to get closer to Ellie than I was with like my best Christian guy friend.
Oh.
And I think that's something that I would say that you want a good boundary. Make sure that you've got dudes in your life who you are, for a lack of a better term, having those deep, I need another term for this, intimate conversations with.
Yeah.
You should be locked in with those guys, accountability partners, whatever you want to call it, discipleship. That should be your primary discipleship method right there. It's the other dudes that you're currently with until you're married.
What oftentimes happens is that the young guys don't have a plan. So if they do have a girlfriend, and let's say like when I say plan, like I'll make it even more specific. I don't mean like a plan for life, but like a plan for like literally like the date. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. We'll just figure it out. What do you mean? She's gonna come over after work. She gets off at 10, and we're gonna start like a movie. And I'm like, Really?
You're gonna watch
start a
it.
movie at what, 10, 11 p.m. at night, as if like it's gonna end in some deep conversation regarding cinematography? Like, I know how that story ends, right?
My father-in-law used to say when we were dating, nothing good happens after 10 p.m. So
That's
man.
that's a good.
No. So
point.
like literally, I'll tell guys like, I'm like, what's the plan? And that's where part of that like boundaries, accountability happens. Like, what's the plan? Plan is this. We're having dinner at this time. We're gonna go out. We're gonna go bowling at this time, and then we're gonna go see a movie at this time. And I'm dropping her off at this time. What are like good boundaries? Good boundaries sometimes are a pain in the butt in a very Hebrews 12 way. Like for the moment, all discipline seems uncomfortable, but later it yields this like very like fruitful harvest. Like for me and Diana, boundaries were this: I was not allowed to like be alone with her. Like at my house. So my mom, because we did the long distance thing, so I'd fly out to Washington to see my mom, and my mom would be like, hey guys, I'm going to Walmart. I'd be like, cool, have a good time. And she'd be like, who's coming with me? It can be one of you or both of you.
this was literally my next question, Joe. I'm so glad you brought it up. Was let's talk about family vacations. Okay, so you're dating someone, you're getting to know their family, and they invite you on vacation. How does that work? You're all staying at the same house.
Dang, man, that's a tough one. I've never been on one before I married.
A vacation at all,
No,
ever?
no, a family vacation, dude.
I think it's a really like practical question.
Happens
though.
all the time at Liberty.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
Come
so-
come to my house for fall break.
Yeah.
We're going to the beach for fall break. Come with us.
I know how those, and I know exactly how a lot of those stories happen. It's come to my house for fall break, and then I was like, hey, Jimmy, how'd it go? How'd fall break go? Oh, me and Susie, we hooked up and had sex. Or she came over for Thanksgiving break, and what happened? I remember the one time it was like, yeah, I walked out of the room, walked back in, she was laying naked on my bed.
Yeah, that happened
So,
to a friend of mine.
I'm not a really big fan of sleepovers, okay?
Yeah.
I don't care, like, oh, my parents will be there. We're dealing with like 18, 19, 20-year-olds whose like hormones are bouncing off the wall, like protons, neutrons, and electrons. Like, I got it. Like, God made you like a sexual being. It's like a really like powerful thing. And even if your family's there, oftentimes mom and dad are oblivious to like what's going on. I'm not oblivious. Like, I went to college, like got a degree, and I know what happens on those family vacations.
Another question for you. What do you do if you were called to date, like you have someone that wants to date someone that is not the same denomination of Christianity, or even this, maybe they believe a different religion? What if
It's a problem.
Yeah,
It's a problem because she's doing Jesus and he's doing jihad. That's a problem.
That is a
That's
problem.
not going to work. There's a reason that Paul like uses the phrase unequally yoked of these two animals like plowing a field, because if the yoke isn't lined up perfectly, the one animal is going to be pulling the other animal like all over the place, and they won't be having these like straight like agricultural like lines in the ground. Huge problem.
Yeah, and I agree. And like this actually bleeds into like a more issue, because I think we can all agree like dating outside of your denomination, outside of like Christianity, probably not wise, right? Anyone listening to this podcast like probably doesn't even struggle
And they're
with that.
probably being like, but like I love him and
I can
like,
evangelize to
Oh,
him.
Yeah, missionary dating is what I was going to get
I'm
to.
the only real Christian in his life, and I'm like, you're not Jesus. Like, get out of his way, introduce him to like some godly men who are part of a local church, and if he's not willing to do that, drop him like he's hot.
Okay. And on the same note, what if they just have some different theology? What if they are a Christian?
How different are we talking?
I mean, okay, so for reference, we had one on like women pastors, for instance. What would you say if like one of them is like dead set, no, this is what the Bible says, it's not right. But we have another one that says, like, I don't see that as a problem.
I got you. So, like, that's not a salvationary issue, but it is a very problematic
Yeah.
issue, right? Because that's different than
I agree.
You believe in speaking in tongues and I don't. Okay, that's a different theological point of view. The women pastors ones, if they're like dog set, like women should be pastors and I am very egalitarian in my views. If that's truly how they are, that's very problematic, because now we're not just dealing with theology, we're dealing with the roles within the relationship.
Okay.
And that's why because now that's going to take out it's going to take out one of the spouse's ability to like shepherd and disciple their wife. Like I'm assuming like in that scenario, it's probably the girl.
It's typically that way.
It's usually the
Yeah.
girl who's like all about women pastors, and the guy's like.
I have
don't
seen it the
think
other
so.
way, but
Right. It could be the other way.
I have seen it the other way.
That'd be interesting.
But I think that depending on the level of theology, and once again, if you're not sure, this is why a local church is so important.
Yeah.
Because you might be like, I don't think it's a big deal. And then you find a guy who's like, well, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And you're like, whoa, I didn't think about the implications of having different theology on that point of view.
Yeah, and so you see that as like because I think we can agree like if you're post trib or pre trib, like that's not the end of the world. Like you're not. I think there's some
Certainly.
things that are not
There's some
saving.
things that are like,
Like if you don't believe in hell, like that's probably like a problem,
right,
right?
because that affects the atonement of Christ and what he did on the cross.
Exactly. You had something.
I want to take the question a step further, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
You're talking about some very specific theological issues, but let's just talk about like commitment level for a second. Like in terms of like I'm committed, my relationship with Christ, like how serious I am. What would you say to a girl who's pursuing a guy and he's like, he's like kind of 1 foot in, like he believes in God, he has a
typically the
relationship
scenario.
with God, but he's like, life's fun and like I haven't quite locked in yet, and she's like, for lack of a better term, more locked in.
And that's the most common situation.
Still unequally yoked. I mean, they both are going in the same direction, kind of.
She's
but
dragging him along.
yeah,
If you're a girl and you're listening and you are having to drag along another guy because like he does not take his walk with Jesus that seriously, you need to like break up with him right now. Because if you're having to do
Wow.
that now, you're going to
Hard.
have to keep doing that. And I'll tell you what, it'll get really, really old one day when he's staying at home watching football games on Sunday and you're taking your little boy or your little girl to church by yourself. It'll get really old
Dang.
at that point.
yeah.
Dang, dude, that's really tough. I'm glad you said that because I think that's a tough thing to say because I think it'd be easier to be like, oh, just like try to help shepherd him and whatnot. But
Well, girls are oftentimes so like motherly in
They are.
nature, and it's a beautiful thing. Okay, and it's great like to be a mom, but like so many girls like it's like they don't have a boyfriend. It's like they have a child that they're taking care of. Like he's not a man; he's a little boy, and that's going to get really old.
yeah, and and this we can bring up the next question. I think that fits perfectly. What if you're a young, like let's say that you're a young like 30-year-old or late 20-year-old female in the church, right? You're a godly woman and you just can't find anyone that really wants to like date you that's, a godly man, right? And you really want to get married. I find that, sometimes like we see them like kind of, lack of a better term, settle for someone that's kind of that lukewarm, like what you're saying, Drew.
We'll fix it in post. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll fix it in pre-engagement. We'll fix
Yeah.
it in premarital counseling. What do you say to that young woman who's like super beat up because she's living the right way?
Yeah, to that girl who has been in a season of singleness for a really long time, and it seems really, really old. I empathize with you, like my sister. I do, but please hear me. Please hear me on this. The only thing that is worse than like being single and wanting to be in a relationship is being in a relationship, feeling trapped and wishing you were single.
Ooh.
deep.
I mean, that's Proverbs, right?
I just and I just don't give up. Keep praying, and I don't think there's anything wrong with like seeking godly advice. Like you can ask like other sisters or brothers of the church, do you know, if you know, you can like literally be like to your godly brothers and sisters, if you know of any guy that you think, would be a good person to introduce me to, please do. Okay?
Yeah.
You can put it on their radar. You can do the online thing, but just settling is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It's a recipe
Yeah.
for disaster.
Going back to my analogy earlier, going to the movies is fun, but life isn't always fun. Life gets hard, and you need a partner next to you who's ready to take on the challenges, to point you to Jesus when you're having a hard time, who's ready to go toe to toe with life. Like Satan's out to get us, and you need someone by your side who's ready to take on that battle. And having fun at the movies doesn't really, that doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. All right. Final question for you.
Okay.
We talked a lot about like girls and like their like kind of a lack of a better term, once again, settling. And it's typical, and like, I'm not trying to like call out only guys, but it does seem to be more of the case that it's the girl kind of dragging a guy along, and
Sure.
and the ladies at our church, you're really solid people. So shout out to all the girls.
Shout out to all the girls at LCC.
Yeah, LCC, you're all solid. What do you say to the guy who says, Joe, I don't want to be single my whole life. I don't want to be called to singleness. Like, what do you say to that person?
And this is a person who is just struggling. They don't like the season that they're in.
Yeah, man. And we've had some guys at the church like that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Have dealt with that. Some great guys who, they find a girl and then they're just not interested in them. What do you say?
I would give them a lot of the same advice I just gave to the sister in
Yeah.
this scenario. And I think there's nothing wrong with going to other like church groups and events where maybe there's a bigger fishing pond of potential like suitors or ladies that you could meet. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, doing the online thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But be careful and choose very, very wisely. And a lot of guys will get into trouble because they'll be like, dude, she's so hot. And I'm like, dude, she may be hot, but so is hell. Like, that's the reality. So like don't.
I love that one.
That-
I love that one
great,
so
dude.
I'm
much.
not saying that her beauty, like guys, like we're gonna notice a woman who's beautiful. I mean, read Song of Solomon. He noticed a lot of like features on a woman's body that I
Yeah.
don't feel like it's like almost inappropriate to say. If you read Song of Solomon, it's like
Song
all
of
there.
Solomon, yeah.
So I think like guys sometimes get so caught up in one category that they overlook the other category, and the other category like that. The spiritual significance is really important. Like, does she like love God? Does she love God? Does she have a desire for the things of God and the people
Yeah.
of God and the Word of God? Really important things to consider, and don't settle. Like, because all like for some of you guys, you're listening right now and you're like, I've been doing the single thing for this many months or this many years. For all you know, God has ordained that like this very week or month, you are going to meet the person he has for you.
Yeah. I mean, we had a member at our church who's almost 40 who got married. Yeah.
Yeah.
Been single most of his life. Yeah.
If God can speak the universe into existence, if he can raise the dead and bring them back to life, him like bringing you to the person he has for you is child's play. You have a big God. He's doing thousands of different things in your life at any given moment, and you're maybe aware of like one or two of them. Don't be discouraged.
Well, that's a really good one to end on. Well, guys, thank you for listening in. If you have any other questions, like I said, you guys can go ahead and message on the Instagram. It's spirituallyfit.podcast. And we'll catch you guys next week.